he was a Roman emperor who was living between the year 53 and the year 1107, meaning 117. So he lived for 64 years, Roman emperor. So the Trajan's Forum in Rome that he built was a very important and still is an important part of Rome. And you know, the plan of the buildings was he was very fond of architecture, and so lots of constructions had been built, but now of course there are only ruins. You know, here you see the plan of his architecture, the Roman Forum, the Trajan's Forum, with the equestrian sculpture of Trajan, and then all kinds of other buildings, library. You see, very important knowledge, library. The column of Trajan was here, the equestrian sculpture of him was here, and then these lower buildings around it. We are going to see other pictures of this, you know, large complex that was built 2,000 years ago, or almost 2,000 years ago. So there are now, it's not far away from the Colosseum, and is distinct from the Roman Forum. So you have the Trajan's Forum, quite large, as you can see. I mean, if you look at the scale of the Colosseum and the scale of the Trajan's Forum was, you know, significantly bigger. And here you see a more detailed plan, the Forum of Caesar, the Forum of Augustus, but this was the most ample, you know, Trajan's Forum. The Temple of Trajan was here, the Trajan Column was here, the library here, and you know, the Basilica, Ulpia. So there were all kinds of functions, both secular and sacred, brought together. Although the sacred at that time, of course, it was pagan. You know, they were pagans. They were not Christians. Although the Christians did exist at that time in Rome, but not here, not in Trajan's Forum. Foro di Traiano, the Trajan's Forum, Foro di Augusto, Foro di Cesare. Foro della Pace. Interesting that there was also a forum for peace, although these emperors, they were warriors. They conquered many lands and many people, Foro Romano and so on. Anyway, but it's interesting that existed a Foro della Pace, the Forum of Peace, the Foro of Nerva, Foro di Nerva. Anyway, so this was Emperor Trajan in Rome, and here you see the Trajan's column, which is adorned with bas reliefs from the war he waged against the Dacians in what was to become later Romania. And I read now with maybe unavoidable touch of patriotism here, but I read that the sculptors who adorned the statue, the column with scenes from the war on Dacia, represented with a lot of dignity the head, the severe head, the head of Decebalus, the king of the Dacians. And I read an American historian said that this showed that the Roman soldiers, the Roman warriors, appreciated very much the courage and the dignity of the Dacian king. Apparently, it's the face with the most dignity. And again, this was written by an American, Durand, I forgot his name, but an important historian of the United States. And here you see again, some of the functions. The statue of Trajan on horseback, the plaza, the entrance with the triumphal arch, the Greek library, a Latin library. Interesting that, there were two distinct libraries symmetrically placed, the Latin library and the Greek library. Then the temple dedicated to Trajan, quite ample, and the Trajan column was here, which exists today. So this was a reconstruction of Trajan's Forum. And these are renditions, rather recent, about what, we imagine was there, the center of power in the Roman Empire. You see the top of the Trajan's column here. So he was represented twice, once on horse and once on top of this column. Now, if this looked exactly like this, we don't know, but based on the plans and, studies and archaeological evidence, perhaps to an extent at least, it was an architecture not very dissimilar from what we look at now. So this is Trajan's column, but I'm always confused because there is another column in a different place, which is very similar, and I have to study it more because it's unclear to me if that one is the actual column of Trajan or this one. I thought this one, but they are very similar. I don't know what the other one is. Anyway. You see, empires go up and then they go down, and it's unavoidable. One day our skyscrapers will fall, but nobody thinks of that moment. The Roman Empire collapsed, and so collapsed all empires. But we don't think of this. We think that we last forever. It's not the case. It never happened, and it never will. So again, the Latin library, the Greek library, the Trajan's column, the temple of Trajan, the equestrian statue of the emperor, meaning Trajan, and Rome all around it. Here he is, a very important emperor. Any emperor should have been important, and some of them, though, are more important than others. And here are scenes from the column of Trajan depicting the war, which was a very important war that the Romans waged against the population living around here at the time, meaning the Dacians. It is clear that, considering the importance of the column, Trajan's column, it is clear that for the Emperor Trajan, this was a very hard fought war, and the victory was very valued. And here you see, this is Decebalus, who actually committed suicide. He cut his own, head, his throat, in order to not be caught by alive by the colonies, the future colonies, the Romans. Here he is again, and that's what I read. And again, if you see, there is a difference between the representation of other heads. This is what I read by the historian Durand, a North American, but probably a French ancestry historian, who said that the way he's represented on the column shows that the sculptors and those who erected the column for Trajan valued Decebalus a lot. They respected him, even though he was defeated in the end, but they respected him. So this column represents power, centralized power. And, over the centuries over thousands of years of human history, even in the poorest village somewhere in the world, there are columns celebrating power, the power of someone, the power of a god, the power of a human being. Obelisks are, desired and valued everywhere. In Place de la Concorde in Paris, there is an Egyptian obelisk. What is he doing there? Then not too far away, in Place Vendôme, I think there is column with or an equestrian statue with King Le Soleil. So everywhere, the one who was in power was valued and maybe even feared, and the column celebrated that power in emphatic ways. But here, it shows again how important this war was for the Emperor Trajan and for Rome. If the most important symbolical structure that they build, a column, depicts, is actually showing on these spirals scenes from that war. This says a lot. Anyway, you see here, the head of Decebalus, and it was brought to Rome. Anyway, sad. This sad because human beings always fought, and I'm afraid they will always fight. And unfortunately, we cannot, not unfortunately, it's good in a way, we cannot afford another war, but I don't know for how long we can abstain, because there is so much, inability to communicate in peaceful terms between two brothers, or a husband and a wife. Forget about two people, two different countries. This was the flag of the Dacians and their symbol. This I like this, this I would say charged with symbolism, this image. Maybe, I thought that in Romania, perhaps the flag should have this again on it.